college. I was a day laborer, worked my way through college, and thought about joining the family business of construction right after I graduated, and decided I wanted to kind of earn my own stripes and do my own thing. So ended up getting my CPA license. Worked at Deloitte & Touche for several years as an auditor. And if you all remember, in 2010, the BP oil spill happened. And there was a lot of talk of that oil getting in Florida's, in the loop current coming down Florida's west coast through the Keys. And no one in the Keys was talking about what they're doing to clean up or be prepared. I said, heck, what a great opportunity to get involved. Put together some oil skimmers and basically moved to New Orleans for about 6 months. And that was my first real eye-opener to government and its involvement in all of our lives. And if you remember in 2010, that was when the Tea Party movement really started. And I started paying attention to what was being discussed, the issues at hand. Whether it was the debt, whether it was unemployment, whether it was health care, immigration, foreign affairs, pick an issue. I said, heck, each and every one of these issues are probably going to affect my generation, right? Some of the high school students here, my kids, my grandkids, a lot more than my parents and grandparents. But when I talk to my friends, at a Sunday watching a football game or something, they all say, oh, Murph, that's not our problem. Someone else is going to deal with that. That's not the answer. We all better get more involved in our community and government, because the decisions being made at every level of government are going to affect all of us and future generations. So as Barclay said in his introduction, threw my hat in the ring in 2012. Ran against Alan West and ended up winning in that race that turned out to be the most expensive congressional race in history. $30 million was spent. So you better believe I want to get the money out of politics. And got elected in a very close election. Won by 0.5%, 2,000 votes. Talk about a lesson of how important every single vote is. And I get elected to the Congress, and you have orientation. It's kind of like starting college. They teach you, how to vote and how to do an amendment and the safety, and just the basic stuff. But what do? They say, well, look, Patrick, you're a Democrat. They're going to be here in the room with all the other Democrats. And then they put the Republicans in another room. And for the first 3 weeks, you basically don't even meet each other. I said, what the world is that? Regardless of what party you are, if you're going to solve a problem, you better find the middle ground. Right? And for the folks here in business, or anybody with a family would know, you rarely get 100% of what you want. If you get 80% of a deal, take that deal and move on to the next issue. So I was very frustrated my first couple of weeks. So I was introduced to a freshman Republican from North Carolina. And we ended up starting a bipartisan group called United Solutions. Got about 50% of the freshman class to come together to talk about our fiscal house. We realized that we had a lot more agreement, a lot of the social issues we didn't quite see eye to eye on, but we said, let's talk about the things we agreed on. And we were to put forward several pieces of legislation. One of them was called the SAVE Act. This was a bill where we identified $479 billion basically duplicative, fraudulent government spending. And think of that. We found that in several months. Think of how much there really is. And that's all of our money. That's taxpayer money. And we were able to get several pieces of this passed. There's a lot more to do. And the truth is, some of the things that happened along the way and getting that bill to the floor woke me up to just how broken Washington is. There was a Republican, I won't go, I don't need to say his name, and I'm not trying to sound partisan here because both parties are guilty of this, but he wouldn't sign on the bill with me because he said, Patrick, that might make you look good. It might give you a good headline back home, and we're trying to beat you in your re-election, so I can't sign up for that. And, I was told if I help you, I'm going to, be dropped from my committee and probably be blocked from raising, any money. What in the world is that? We've got serious problems in this country. I think we're on our way back to recovery, but it's not about the Republicans and the Democrats. It's about America and about putting the country first. Right? And I've had some great experiences in the House and been blessed to be on 2 very interesting committees. One of those is the Financial Services Committee. That oversees housing, oversees insurance, and capital markets. And one of the things I've really tried to prioritize has been in the insurance market. I think you're all familiar here with flood insurance and the rate increases we've seen. I've seen in my district, some folks having 1,000, 2,000% increases in flood insurance. So one of the bills we put forward and actually passed unanimously 2 days ago in the committee, I worked with Congressman Dennis Ross on this bill. We basically were able to improve on the Bigger Waters flood bill. For those of you that don't follow this every day, the National Flood Insurance Program is about $25 billion in debt. They passed some legislation several years ago to try to improve that. One of the clauses in the bill would allow for more private sector involvement. However, there was a bottleneck with the Fed, the FDIC, the OCC, the banking regulators to determine what they call equivalent or better. See, right now, you can get flood insurance with NFIP, and the private sector can get involved if they meet that equivalent or better standard. But the banking regulators weren't putting that standard out. So we said, look, flood insurance should be regulated like every other insurance at the state commission level. Let them determine that equivalent or better standard. So they meet those minimum standards. And if Florida wants to have tougher standards than Nebraska or Alaska, then so be it. But the point of the bill is to get more private sector involved, more competition into flood insurance, thereby bringing down prices. So that bill passed unanimously in the committee. I'm told it's going to pass overwhelmingly in the House, and we have a Senate companion we're working on, and already talked to the administration about that. The other committee that I'm on in the Congress is the House Intelligence Committee. People always joke, Governor, they say, this is an oxymoron, unfortunately, in the House. But the Intelligence Committee does exist. It's about 20-some folks on it, and it's been the most fascinating thing I've been involved with in the Congress. There's no cameras, there's no cell phones, and everything, of course, is off the record. We meet 100 feet underground in the Capitol and talk about some of the challenges facing this country. Half the committee spend your time so scared about some of the threats we face, whether it's hard assets that are going after, whether it's cyber threats. But the other half, you're just so appreciative of those folks, not only in uniform, but the folks that aren't in uniform, protecting this country, right? Putting their life on the line every single day for our freedom and our opportunities. The truth is, there's a lot of threats facing this country. There's a lot more we have to do. And this is a committee that's been so interesting to me, not only because of what we're learning, what we're trying to do, but because it's bipartisan. You see, when the cameras are off and the microphones are off, people aren't, pointing a finger and blaming the president or the former president. You actually have to solve a problem, get things done. And that's been one of the really unique opportunities, experiences I've had, in the Congress. And I hope that sort of, getting along, that same sort of energy we have there, we can spread throughout the rest of Congress, but we haven't been able to do that. And there's so many things I could talk about with the Intelligence Committee, and happy to answer any questions. But one thing, in particular, I do want to point out, because I know there's a lot of folks here in the private sector, that cybersecurity is arguably one of the biggest threats in this country. And the more that we all get connected with our internet and Facebook and our computers are going up in the cloud, all of our information is really open to so vulnerable. That is where a lot of these, whether they're state-sanctioned regimes or sort of one-off lone wolf regimes, are trying to get out of this country. And it's an area that I'm very focused on, and believe we have to start investing a lot more money to protect not only the citizens, the businesses, universities, and all the government entities. And you've seen some of the recent hacks, OPM, to several other agencies where our private information is being stolen by other state actors. So there's a lot we need to do. But I've enjoyed my first couple terms in the House. I was blessed to win my re-election in a district that Mitt Romney won by about, he won by 4%. I was blessed to win my re-election by 20%. And attribute that to getting things done for the district. I didn't worry about my re-election. I worried about doing my job. I represent the third most senior district in the whole country. Right? And I'm the second youngest member of Congress, so I'm in a nice juxtaposition. And we're able to help a lot of seniors, help a lot of veterans. I was able to bring home about $2 billion to help clean up the environment, some of the water discharges we have in the Lake of Okeechobee. I feel like we've got a lot done. But the truth is, there's quite a few issues that we're not making progress in. And the House, right now, is playing small ball. There's no vision, right? There's no more foresight. And I decided to run for the U.S. Senate because I believe I can make an even bigger difference on the issues that I care about. I think the issues we all care about by being in the Senate. And that's not to say it's perfect there. Right? There's still plenty of fights and plenty of things I wish we could change. But there's more opportunities to sit down with folks on the other side of the aisle. Get an expert in any issue in the world you want into your office. And really have a conversation about that issue and how you solve it. How do you make improvements? How do you move the ball forward? And there's so many issues that I could talk about, so many things I care so much about, but there's two issues in particular that I don't think we have 15, 20 years to get right. The first one is the disappearing middle class in this country. Income inequality. Right? You think about what's made America so unique. And one of those factors is that strong middle class that we have. And I believe it's going to take some real investments in America to rebuild it. You think of technology, automation, what's going on. Unfortunately, we are probably going to displace more jobs because of technology and automation in the next 5 to 10 years than we've seen in the history of the world. So how do you counter that? How do you counter that automation and technology and innovation? You're not going to use to stop progress. How do you do it? You invest in education first and foremost, making sure that everybody has access to quality and affordable education, regardless of what neighborhood they're in. Right? That means investing more in pre-K, making sure that our high schools are better, making sure that folks are getting higher education and they don't graduate with $50,000 or $100,000 of student debt, and the government's making billions of dollars. That's unacceptable. I was talking to some public school teachers not too long ago. They came to visit me. I said, Patrick, we make between $42,000 to $45,000 a year. We all spend between $500 to $1,000 on supplies for our students, fine workers, and because they don't have enough from their families or the school district is providing them. So we've got to pick up the slack. And worse yet, one of the teachers explained to me that the books are so old and so dirty that she has to cut out the pages to find the clean pages, re-staple it, re-bind it together to give the students a book that they can actually read. And they have to rotate books between a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday schedule. That sounds like a third world country. That's unacceptable. And just the fact that they don't have iPads and computers and laptops to bring home and study on, they're already behind. Much less they're rotating books. We've got to invest more in education. We've got to invest more in infrastructure. There's $2.5 trillion offshore right now that a lot of corporations and individuals are keeping offshore. Let's bring that money home. Right? Let's invest in roads, bridges, schools, highways, IT. Quite literally paving the way for future generations. I support raising the minimum wage. I believe we do need tax reform and comprehensive tax reform. Here's a stat that'll blow your mind, I think. If elected to the U.S. Senate, I would be the second CPA in the history of our country to serve there. Think there's anything wrong with our fiscal house? So, we do need tax reform. We need to make sure that we're protecting programs like Social Security and Medicaid to make sure that they're going to be there for future generations. And making sure we've got a floor in this country that nobody's going to fall through is critical. Right? These programs are under attack. And another issue that, again, I don't think we have 15, 20 years to get right is climate change. Everywhere I go in the state of Florida, I can see the impacts of it. I was in the Florida Keys with some family over the holidays. With an uncle of mine, he's been a charter boat fisherman his whole life, backcountry guy. He was explaining to me he had to change careers over Christmas because the areas where he used to take his clients are so polluted, so dirty, he doesn't catch fish anymore. So he became a realtor over the holidays and can't fish anymore. You go to Miami Beach, high tide, on Alton Road. There's 3 inches of salt water on Alton Road. I assure you it wasn't built underwater. Right in my district, billions and billions of gallons of toxic water coming out of Lake Okeechobee. I was in Apalachicola several months ago. All the oysters are dying there because the freshwater flows are changing. Everywhere I go around the state, you see a very direct impact of climate change. So we've got to start making the investments necessary to change this trajectory that we're on. And one of the things that I've learned is that you're never going to make everybody happy, right? Whether it's your family, whether it's business, it's certainly public service. And I was sitting with my family. Some of the folks here know my family, Governor, you do, Eric, you do, a couple of folks here met him. See, my dad is a Republican. And I went to sit with my family and read a little round table like this, and I had them all there telling them I was going to run for Congress. And my dad's there, he's a Republican. My mom, she's an independent. One of my brothers supports the Tea Party. I think he might have supported my first opponent. I don't know. Another brother, good Democrat. And then third brother doesn't know the difference between a Republican and a Democrat. He's still trying to figure it out. So here I am with my family, and I'm talking to them about the things I care about, tax reform, Social Security, and I couldn't get them to agree with me on what was needed. I said, you know what? You're never going to make everybody happy. Do what you think is best. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? Use them proportionally. Right? Study the issues. Right? Do what you think is best. And understand you're not going to make them happy. I ended up having one of the most independent voting records in the entire Congress. Because I don't put blinders on and just show up and vote. I study the issue. I say, how is this going to affect my district? And how is this going to affect the state of Florida? How does this affect our country? Finally, how does it sit aside? A lot of these issues we deal with at the federal level are not so cut and dry. You got to dig deep. And that's ultimately why I'm doing this. Because I enjoy studying these issues. I enjoy trying to be that voice for Florida. And hope that with your support and many others around the state of Florida, that I'll be the best, hardest working senator this state's ever seen. And my pledge to you all is that I will always be a strong voice for Florida. I'm going to show up to the committee. I'm going to show up and vote because I care about these issues and believe that we can really make a difference. So I appreciate all this, and I look forward